Hi, everybody. I'm Perry Jones-Grossman, and welcome to the Summit Series, How to Heal Autoimmune Diseases Without Using Meds. Now, I've got a very special guest with us today who is amazing because I started using some of her protocol with some soups and all this even before I got sick. So I kind of feel like I got a little head start. So our guest today is Elissa Goodman. And I have to read this because her resume is like a mile long. But she's a holistic nutritionist and lifestyle cleanse expert. She's a powerful story about how she cured herself from Hodgkin's lymphoma by choosing an alternate path of healing. Now, you found out personally how the power of food is and how food is like medicine. So she created soup, superfoods, organic, uniquely designed, prepared with love. I love that part. It's a 5-day food cleanse. And she's also created some signature juice blends that are in all the Air One markets. She's also an author. Her book, Cancer Hacks, is amazing, amazing story and wonderful information. It's a book filled with practical suggestions to help you overcome your fears and heal cancer. So welcome to the series, Elissa. I'm so excited you're here because your personal story is so powerful that I want people to hear about what your message is. And let's go back to the beginning and how you healed yourself.
Well, do you want to go back to the cancer or the autoimmune?
Oh, I know. Isn't that true? We've got two things going. Well, tell us.
Touch on the cancer. I mean,
Yes.
just, because it is an autoimmune series that you're doing, a summit that you're doing, because I was growing up in a nutshell. I was always sick. I mean, I had a lot of viral issues. I got chickenpox, strep, tonsillitis. I got shingles. I had K-pores. I got herpes. Needless to say, I mean, all of those viral issues. And when I was growing up, they gave me antibiotics for them. So they didn't really have antivirals. So antibiotics don't really do anything for the viruses. They just they help with the symptoms, but they lay dormant. And I know now they go into the organs and the tissues and they kind of hang out and just hang out there. And they're toxins. So I was always sick growing up, and I was always chronically fatigued, and no one could ever figure out what was wrong with me. And then I was growing up in Arizona, a little slow-paced city, and then I moved to New York, got sick all the time there. And then 10 years in New York, I said to my husband, we got to move west. I need a better, slower, easier life, and also something where it was just the sunshine and back to my roots.
Yes.
And we moved back to west, and I was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma. So all of those illnesses, all of that feeling crappy all those years, really, I was really stressed in my job because I was always feeling like I wasn't good enough or I wasn't measuring up because I never had the energy to really measure up. And I never had the mental clarity to get to the place where most people were. I'm like, how is that person doing so much?
Yeah.
And I had Hodgkin's lymphoma. And then I actually ended up treating it. It was an early stage. So I treated it with some Western because I was scared shitless. Can I say that on this? I was really scared. It wasn't a funny time. It wasn't a fun time. But then I just started changing my diet. I became a vegan. I dove into therapy because I know emotionally I was not in a good place. Mm-hmm. I started doing yoga. I started meditating. I just really felt like I needed to find my center. I was so off balance most of my life. And all of those things came together, and I did half of the radiation that they recommended. I didn't do any chemo. So I did a little bit of both, a Western and sort of a holistic approach. And I healed. But it wasn't without consequences. When they radiated me, I got hypothyroidism. And then I went on to have 2 girls, and after my first daughter, I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's. So a lot of times, those viruses stay dormant in your system. And when you have a traumatic event, like a birth, even though it's a happy traumatic event, these ugly autoimmunes raise their head.
Right.
I know my gut wasn't healthy. I know a lot of things about me weren't healthy.
Right.
So,
and it's a wake-up call. I mean, sometimes these, diagnosis, I mean, I wasn't happy when I found out I had Epstein-Barr and was flat on my back. And I was wondering, okay, what's the message here? But I've been treating it in a strange way, almost like a gift, because it was a strong message to me saying, you've got to get yourself healthy, girl. You know, I mean, Diet
Yeah.
Cokes. Okay, I was hooked on Diet Cokes. This is my new Diet Coke. This is pure celery juice, which is one of the biggest, you know, healers in here. But I want to read, there's two things that I read on your website that I loved, and I knew that you got it and how much you took care of yourself. This one says, love yourself enough to live a healthy lifestyle. And then the second one is, most people have no idea how good their body is designed to heal. And I have to tell you something, taking care of ourselves is self-love. And a lot of people still feel guilty about that. They feel guilty about putting themselves first. So my question is, for you in particular, someone gets a diagnosis or in the middle of a diagnosis right now, and they're going through a really tough time. And they normally did have a lot of self-love. You know, they thought they were taking care of themselves. But when you're sick and laying there, you know, the last thing you feel is self-love.
Yeah.
So what do you think are some steps that people can take to get them back up to that feeling, saying, wow, I've got to find that deep inside myself again?
Well, I think what I see a lot of is that I think that people have some self-love, but they don't have that inner deep core of self-love for themselves. I mean, I think that they don't, I think us women especially, because we're more prone to autoimmune than men, but even though men do get it, but I think women are giving, 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 and they don't take the time to really pull back. They think it's a little bit selfish to pull back and really give themselves that self-love, self-care, you know, just that downtime. I mean, we are just extending ourselves, overly extending ourselves. And that is what is causing a lot of these issues. You know, we don't really know when the light bulb doesn't go off so well for us in terms of, hey, you know, we're on a path that's going to kind of get us down to a place where we're not going to, you know, be healthy.
Right.
We have been trained to take care of the family, to take care of our friends. If we work, we take care of the workplace. We are constantly giving. And that is something that our central nervous system cannot keep up with. We were made to do one thing at a time. Who in this world today does one thing at a time? And that stresses out the central nervous system.
Yes.
So I think that, yeah, I don't see a lot of self-love in my practice. I'll ask women or men, you know, sort of like just their life and what they've been through. And they're really, there's a lot of self-doubt. There's a lot of like unworthiness. There's a lot of trauma that they have not dealt with and have not let go of. And I think that's a huge part of what's happening with this autoimmune and cancer.
Yes, I believe that. As a matter of fact, some of our experts that are going to be on the Summit Series, we talk about that. We talk about the emotional part of the diseases that we carry and why and how we can release that and deal with some of the trauma. Because again, you know, the autoimmune disease could just be something reminding you, hey, listen, you haven't dealt with this. Let's deal with it now, you know. So what would be the first thing that you would say would help someone if, let's say they just had a diagnosis or they've been through it for years and nothing seems to be working, right? What would you say is the first most important thing that they could do that they would be able to see some, you know, some outcomes where they could be reversing some of the symptoms?
Well, the first thing that I would suggest is I am a big proponent of functional integrative doctors.
Yes.
So there's some really great ones out there in the country. And they are people that can do the right test to really get to the root issue, like what is really going on. They test for antibodies. They test for, you know, certain like ailments and situations going on in the body that can really tell you exactly why or what kind of autoimmune, or do you have double autoimmune, or, you know, just all kinds of things that most general doctors or endocrinologists do not test for, especially this Hashimoto's. I see so many pieces of blood work come across my desk where they have only tested the TSH. They've not even tested for antibodies. They've not tested for T3, T4, you know, reverse T3, all these important things that you need to do. So functional doctors are people that sit down with you and get to talk about your life and where you are emotionally and where you are in the stress world and what you're doing, sleeping and exercise and diet. And then they test and see really what's going on at the root cause. And I think that is the first step that I say to clients.
Mm-hmm.
And I recommend some that I absolutely love. They've changed my life because there's certain things I test for that really do get to the root. And then you can take those steps with maybe some supplements or some diet change modalities that absolutely can start you on that right path.
Yes, exactly. I did the same thing. I think finding that functional doctor, really helps you put you on the right path. And then what about food? Because I know that was really what you're doing now and how you're giving back to the world is how you healed yourself was through food.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, when I was diagnosed with cancer, I became a massive juicer. In fact, it's just interesting how that all kind of came to be. And now I'm still a very big juicer. Love the celery juice regime.
I need another sip.
I do believe that. I love anything green. So, I mean, I'm always recommending to clients. I mean, what's happening these days is we are not getting nutrients at a cellular level. Yeah. So we talk about we're stressed. Our guts are not in good shape because we're stressed. And when we're stressed, our guts shut down and we cannot process even healthy food that we're eating. We can't get it to the place where those nutrients are absorbed by the cells. So I'm a big fan of like nutrients to the cellular level is my big, how are we going to get those nutrients into you so the cells can really get happy and regenerate and rejuvenate in a healthy way. So juicing is huge. I mean, green juices, I almost do it every day. I make them myself, fresh. I never put any fruit in them because it's a lot of sugar. So I don't believe in sugar going into the bloodstream that fast. But these green juices they're a vitamin, they're a mineral, they're a blood tonic. So they really cleanse the blood and they get nutrients into the cellular level. They can be life-changing. It could be just celery juice could be life-changing.
Sure. Yes.
I mean, or just a simple celery, cucumber, lemon, ginger. It doesn't have to be really exotic. It doesn't have to have kale and spinach and, the whole, pantry of greens. Can just be simple. And that's the nutrients in those produce are amazing. And then the soups are really powerful. Those green veggie soups that are pureed or even, chunky, but they actually are easy for the body to digest. So anything easy for the body to digest, I'm a huge fan. And I'm not a big smoothie girl, but I do believe in smoothies. So if you have a smoothie with spinach and cauliflower, or you put a great greens powder in there, like spirulina or barley juice extract powder. There's some great ones out there, or, chlorella. They all are great in terms of doing the same thing that I was saying with the green juices.
Sure. That makes sense.
Those are life-changing.
What about, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, what about the foods? I mean, if somebody's out there right now, I need to change my diet, but it's going to be taking, baby steps. What are the foods that you would say are the absolutely do not eat if you're trying to get healthy from an autoimmune disease?
So, they're the standard sugar. It's gluten because it's inflammatory. You might not feel bad after having bread or wheat, but it really is inflammatory. It's dairy. Dairy is what is my big, big no-no. I mean, talk about inflammatory. So dairy, sugar, gluten, and dairy, as well as eggs, could be an issue. They're viral carriers.
I'm so
which we eat
eggs.
I know. I do too. I mean, we eat 365 eggs a year. It's crazy. So when I do my soup cleanse here in LA, I cook and deliver to like 50 people every other week. And they are off gluten, sugar, and dairy, and no eggs. It's basically plant-based, mostly. I do put some collagen, high-end quality collagen powder in my vegan broth for a lot of people because, I believe in that because it's a very much of a gut healer. So I'm not 100% vegan and I'm not, so I do eat a little animal protein. But in 5 days, you can change how you feel.
Wow.
They feel they could sleep better. They have more energy. Their skin is better. Their head is mentally more alert.
Yeah.
So those are the big things. And I think animal protein, and especially because of the antibiotics and
Yeah.
all of the crappy stuff we put in it.
Mhm.
And I think these days how we, kill animals and then we bring them to market. I think the trauma of that, I might be, a little bit, I'm very much kind of into all of the, how we raise animals, and is the trauma that might come into our sort of sensitive well-being.
Mhm.
So a lot of animal protein, I feel, is not good for us. It's hard for us to digest. It's very saturated, very concentrated. And when we can't digest it, that saturated fat hangs out in the intestinal lining.
Mhm.
And that's not a good thing.
No, I understood from one of our experts, from Dr. Tom O'Brien, is saying that the lining of our stomachs, that it actually changes every 3 to 5 days, so it can
Mhm.
shed. So that's the first place, like you're talking about the gut health. That's the first place to go in and just get those get those cells healthy again, because they're
Right,
stressing out a lot.
right.
Yeah.
The gut is our immune system. It's where our serotonin is produced.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we've been talking about gut health, but I feel like most of America hasn't really still gotten on board. Do
No,
you?
no. And I have to tell, I have a confession. I'm a confession girl here. So because I wanted to relate, that we're not all of us were into good health, into good diets. Mine was so. I would still have a sugar tooth. Like I said, I was on Diet Cokes for 40 years. Yeah. It was not.
Oh, wow. That's a long.
And and the pink little artificial sugar bags.
Wow.
I mean, I had some cleaning up I needed to do, and I
Right, right,
wasn't particularly fond of green vegetables. They could be any other color but green. Okay.
right,
So
right.
I
You
was
and George Bush, right?
yes,
George Bush didn't like that.
right. It's true. I could totally understand what he was talking about that. So I had to shift dramatically. And
Hmm.
something that, when I did, all I wanted was to feel better. And you could have
Yeah.
told me, take arsenic and you will feel better and be healthy. I would take whatever you would say, just because I needed to get off, laying in bed. I needed to be able to be a mom again, to, work with
Yeah.
clients. I wanted my health back. And so that's what I'm saying to people out there right now. If you're listening and you've heard how everybody needs to have a healthy diet and healthy foods, truly believe us, because it can make a difference in our bodies. Our bodies are pretty amazing how they can heal themselves too.
Absolutely.
You know,
Absolutely. And just like I love the other we talked about before we started the what call, I healed with the medical medium as
yeah,
well. I mean, I definitely 3 years ago, I was on thyroid medication for 21 years, Hashimoto symptoms, and was lucky enough to do a session with him, read that first book, The Mystery Illnesses, that you have there.
yes,
Yes. And I was like, oh my God, that's me.
yeah,
Had a call with him and he put me on a protocol. And in 3 months, I was off my medication. Now, I'm not saying everybody's going to be able to do that, and I'm not recommending that, but I was in 3 months, 4 to 5, 6 months, I had never felt like I feel today. I
yes,
felt so good. I started lowering my toxin loads in my organs, in your thyroid, your liver, your gut. I started healing my gut with certain, herbal modalities. All of this was stuff that's been around
yeah.
for
Oh,
centuries. That's what's fascinating, right? All
right.
these things he recommends, or his team recommends, is been around forever. So our bodies are incredibly toxic. That's the one thing that I always try to stress, is that we come into the world toxic, then we're onslaughted, and we don't even know what toxins we've been
Yeah.
hit with, right?
Right, right. It's everything coming from outside, from within. You know,
Right.
what I love about the healing process of the foods and all we're doing, it's healing from the inside out. But
Out.
we do have to have boundaries, right? We talk about boundaries in our lives in so many different ways. Well, we need to create those boundaries also in what we allow to come into our bodies. I mean,
Yeah.
I changed makeup. I changed my skincare. I
Right.
changed my housekeeper I've had for 15 years, part of our family. I bought all these cleaners that were organic because I mean I became this crazy woman. Even my kids were like, I'm fine, don't touch me, they're teenagers. And,
I know, I can relate.
and I'm
I
saying,
know.
try this.
Air filters, water
Yes,
filters.
yes. And they think, oh my gosh, but they see a difference. They see
Yeah.
their mom, well now.
Yeah.
And going back to
Yeah.
the statement that you made on your website, and I have to say this too, I didn't know how good I could actually feel
Yeah.
until I
I
started
know.
doing this work.
Isn't that such a beautiful thing? I mean, that's what it's so amazing that you're doing this, because there are so many. This Hashimoto's and autoimmune is the fastest growing autoimmune disease today. And we're not getting any better. Cancer isn't getting any less, right? So what you're doing is so beautiful, because people can heal. Their body knows how to heal. The body wants to heal. You
Yes,
just need to give it the right, things for it to heal.
yes.
And it's all within our reach. That's what's amazing.
Yeah. And it's
It's,
not expensive medicine.
no,
I mean, food is not expensive.
yeah,
And this is the
right.
beautiful thing is we can get healed with something that's not going to cost us $100 a pill, right?
Right. I mean, if we drink enough fluids, we're a very dehydrated society. So that creates a problem. We just need to drink good filtered water, enough, I mean, we always say half our body weight, but even more than that can be really beneficial. I mean, we're drinking coffee, and we're, having lots of things that are dehydrating us. And then, right, just upping our veggie count. I say 9 to 10 cups of veggies a day is sort of crucial.
Yeah.
Um, and we just don't do that. And we're so focused on protein and carbs. And, we forget about the fruits and vegetables, which is life. That's a life force.
Yes, no, I love it. You brought up a number that I found, which was interesting. Before I used to say there were over 50 million Americans that were suffering from autoimmune. I was corrected. There's actually over 100 million Americans alone. But listen to this.
Wow.
Worldwide, 700 million people. 78% of autoimmune diseases are primarily in women.
Mm-hmm.
78%. And there's 80 different kinds of autoimmune disorders, and it's growing. So it's easy to say we are in an epidemic, and
Absolutely.
it's something that we've got to get out there and get the message out there. What would you say are the foods that you would recommend to help with inflammation, to help with pain, to help with fatigue? Do you have, just from your own experience, because I know Hashimoto's is a pretty tough one.
It's interesting, because all of the research out there says that with Hashimoto's and thyroid issues, you should stay away from cruciferous veggies, which I think are the healthiest veggies on the planet. The broccolis, the kale, the Brussels sprouts, the cauliflower. I mean, I absolutely want to debunk that myth,
Right.
because the study that was done, someone ate a large amount of those veggies every day, and that's what really inhibited the thyroid from producing what it needed to. So please do not believe that, because those are detoxifying vegetables that we do need to have in our diet.
Yes.
And we just aren't going to eat pounds of them a day, but if we have them within reason, like I said, the 9-10 cups, that's not going to do anything. It's going to just help us.
Right.
So I'm a big fan of, veggies are where it's at. And with the antioxidants with fruits, with the berries are so incredible in terms of antioxidants and lowering inflammation. And also turmeric is another one that we've talked about over the years that is fabulous for inflammation. And omega fatty acids. I mean, there is the vegan sources, which are hemp and chia and flax, but they don't give you exactly enough of what I feel are really the omega, EPA, DHA, and that is from fish. So that is the fish, yeah. Or the algae-based products. So it's algae-based products or fish, and you just have to be a little bit careful on where you're getting your fish and your algae-based products, because those things can be a bit toxic. So those are the things that sometimes I do investigate a little more, because I eat both of those a lot of. So, and I just feel, we talked earlier, I mean, animal protein I think is very toxic. So I go more the vegan, I have animal protein once a day, if that, or maybe 5 times a week, but for one meal. And then the rest are lentils and, beans and chickpeas and quinoa. And I'm a soy lover. So I know that all the research out there says that soy is not good for autoimmune. But again, I don't eat a ton of it. So I love organic edamame, and I love tempeh. So those are 2 things that are easy to digest. They're huge protein sources, and you just have to make sure they're not GMO.
Yeah, exactly. What does somebody look for now? I mean, if they're going, I know everything, you look for organic, but if someone is living in, let's say my little town, I live in a little small, mountain resort town, and we have 2 grocery stores, and they're limited. So they have their organic section, and there's some confusion with some people, because if you go into a store, you get overwhelmed, and you're not feeling that great anyway, and you probably have foggy brain, and you're fatigued, and you're like, well, someone please just do this for me. Okay. What would you say would be like their go-to or their list of things? Say, just pick up these, look for this, and start with this.
Well, I really honestly have to say organic is the way to go. And do you have farmers markets in your beautiful?
Only in the
summer, right? It's winter, right? It's right. So, I mean, it's really pretty. I mean, if you can't find organic produce, enough of it, I mean, you just have to wash it really well.
Okay.
So there are produce, cleansers and cleaners that are fabulous to wash the produce. So I would just make sure to wash it really well, because you really do need to continue with those veggies but I do really recommend organic, because it's just, there are studies that show that lowers inflammation, and it lowers actually risks for all these ailments that we're talking about. Right. So, and then there's online places, which Thrive Market does an incredible job with organic beans and legumes, and there's all kinds of, it sends it right to your door. So you can find gluten-free grains, sprouted grains, sprouted nuts and seeds, and organic, and all of that, and it comes right to your door. So great. I would definitely look into, Thrive Market is one of my favorites. And maybe even some of these places that do deliver food delivery service, or, that are organic, that actually send in, stuff for dinner.
Yes.
That makes it easy for you.
Yeah, those are all really great ideas. And what about the importance of supplements? When you're working with your clients, do you help them with that besides the food? Do you? Okay.
I do. I'm a supplement Nazi.
Are you? See, I didn't know that, but I mean, I've become one,
Yeah, I know.
I'm like, what? I've never even heard of cat's claw. What is that? But evidently it's something that helps me feel a lot better.
Yeah. Have you been using cat's claw?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm on cat's claw. I'm on lemon blast. I'm
on,
I mean, you should see my bag. I used to have
I'd love to see a picture of that bag.
I'll have to get it for you. You will love it. I used to have a big beauty bag, that was that big. No, my supplement bag has taken over, which ultimately is the true beauty, right?
Yeah.
And feeling better.
Supplements are so fascinating, because it's such a huge market, like superfoods and all of this, the health market. I feel like, most of the supplements out there are not fantastic. So they're few and far between. And I love doctor approved supplements, because they're just a little bit more, they've taken a lot of care into what goes into them. And also a lot of the supplements out there, when it says that has a certain amount of vitamin C, E, D, whatever, usually it's half of that amount. I don't know if you know that, but it's,
No.
so a lot of supplements on the market out there, like they'll say they have 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C, it could be 500. And there's fillers and synthetics and all this crappy stuff in them. So it's like, it's better to go, if you can, food first, but we all do need to supplement, like you were saying. There's some of those herbal remedies that you were, like cat's claw. I'm a big fan of, I love cat's claw because it's great for reducing viral infections in the body, like strep, which is a huge EBV. And I love all the antivirals. I love bioactive silver, a really high quality silverol makes the, right?
Yeah.
I love lemon balm. I think that's what you were talking, lemon balm.
Yes.
And my supplements with what I'm talking about, they come from Nature's Answer is one of the brands that I love. I don't know if that's what you buy, but it's alcohol free and you can't find those at the grocery stores or Whole Foods. You have to get them on Amazon.
Okay.
Because I feel like alcohol, you don't need the alcohol in those supplements,
Right.
because it can be grain alcohol. And that's, I don't think for someone with autoimmune or someone with these health issues, it's not great.
Yeah.
So I do all alcohol free, but I mean, there are, yeah, I'm very picky with my, I mean, I could go on forever, but I'm very picky with my supplements. And I think for all of us, antivirals like the cat's claw and the bioactive silver and a liquid zinc, which is protects the organs from viruses and also builds the immunity. And I feel like I love licorice root extract. I don't know if that's one of yours.
It is one of mine. It is one of mine. I should compare notes with you later.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, for me, I did the bioactive silver, the liquid zinc. I did licorice root extract. I did high doses of ester C and lysine. You know, those are all things that, like lysine's an antiviral. The actual C calms down the central nervous system. You know, I mean, the licorice root is an antiviral, helps the adrenals. Also, vitamin C is where is stored in the adrenals. And when we are having autoimmune, our adrenals are taxed.
Yes.
So, and then I did a little bit of iodine. That's a little controversial right now these days, but that was all I did to get me off the thyroid medication.
Wow.
It was really, and then I also, you know, I did probiotics and to heal my gut, and I really focused on the gut stuff. So
that's what I'm in the middle of right now too. I know.
Is healing the gut.
Healing the gut. Still working on that. Still get a little grumblings, you know, with certain foods. I'm still figuring out what is okay, things that I should just, you know. I also learned something I want to share with you guys. So I went on this gluten-free diet. And so I was doing great on it for months and months. And then I happened to go to a party, and I noticed that their certain pasta looked really, really good. And it wasn't,
you hadn't had it in a while.
I went wild. I had like, you know, 5 little pieces of it. I mean, we were using the vegetable kind of, you know, strain where you make the pasta, and I was getting a little tired of it. I was missing my pasta, I have to say. So I took a little bowl, and I'm not kidding you. Within an hour, my stomach started grumbling and rumbling, and I thought, gee, I wonder what it was, you know. And I learned that if you really are, you know, and you have some problems with gluten-free, don't do what I did, you know, stay on it. Because the minute you don't, and you do cheat a little bit, you suffer the consequences. And I have to tell you, the whole next day, I was sick.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, you know, so I have learned to just be very disciplined with the things that I know are healing me, and learn to love them. I wasn't a big fan of broccoli. It's my new best friend now, you know, because it makes me feel good. And I think that's, you know, the whole point of all of this is that we want to do things that are healthy for us, and that we deserve. We deserve to have healthy, beautiful, abundant lives, and to be thriving, you know, not surviving. And
absolutely, surviving is not okay.
No.
It's not okay. It's really, I mean, there's enough stress and there's enough craziness in this world, you know, to have you in a place where you can handle it and navigate it is the most beautiful thing in the entire universe. I mean, I do have to say, like with the gluten and like some of these things, what's interesting over time as you heal and you lower the inflammation and you really lower the viral and toxin loads in your body, you can go back to dipping your toe into the pastas and the pizzas, and you might not be as sick, which
Right.
is, I think, is the most beautiful thing, because people are like, I can't give up, my alcohol or
Yeah.
certain things, right, that they love.
I know. And I'm only 5 months into it, and they say
Yeah,
it takes a year. It takes a
yeah.
your whole
That's what it took for me.
did
It
it.
took a solid year to really get to a place where I just felt really confident. And then as the time went on, I wasn't good. Like you said, I wasn't good with the pastas or the pizzas. And I'm not a sugar girl, but I do love my carbs.
Yes.
But now I can have a piece of pizza, and I don't have it depends on where I go
Right.
too.
Right.
And
And I think
pasta, and I'm not sick.
didn't you do the pizzas that are made out of cauliflower
Yeah.
bread?
Yes. We
I
do a lot of that, like a lot of soca, which is chickpea flour, or a lot of cauliflower, which, yeah. And there's so many places these days. I mean, well, I guess I should say, because I live in LA.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. There are a lot of places that are gluten free.
Yes.
So,
You can take advantage of. Well,
yeah.
before we wrap up, Elissa, is there anything that we haven't covered that you think is really important for people to hear and listen to and just even think about, be aware of?
I think that the most important thing is that we talked about earlier. I mean, you deserve to heal, and you can heal. And I hope that we can instill in these people that they don't have to live their life. If this is not their destiny, having an autoimmune, having cancer, having any of these things, diabetes, blood sugar issues, hormone issues, I mean, sleep issues. This is not something you would have to continue living with.
Yeah.
There are ways, there are things to do that aren't that hard, that you basically can get yourself to the other side.
Yeah.
So I'm such a big fan of, being able to get people to experience what it's like to have a different kind of life, and
Yes.
and really get in touch with themselves. What do they want? What is their passion? What is their purpose? And is it to live a
Right.
healthier, more vibrant life?
Right. And feel like they deserve it. And you
Yeah,
do.
deserve it.
Everybody does deserve it. Was there information that people can reach out to you? And I didn't know if you had anything that you wanted to offer or let people know, but let us know.
Absolutely. I have, it's going up on my website very soon. I'm writing a book called Autoimmune Hacks.
Great.
So it's all about how I healed and how you can heal, and some easy ways to do it. So I'm going to have a PDF on the website
Great.
that will talk about that. But if someone wants to email me,
Okay.
Elissa@elissagoodman.com, I can send them that PDF already. I can send them the hacks. I also have a 21-day do-it-yourself healthy eating program on my site that is great for anybody with autoimmune or any kind of health issue. So it's plant-based, but it kind of dips your toe into what it's like to eat that way. It's supplements, it's energy healing, it's actual, meditations, it's exercise, it's yoga. There's also mantras, there's daily nutrition tips. So there's a lot of information on there.
Oh, that's
So
fabulous. See, if you guys are lost in all the information, I love this. It's one-stop shopping with you as a gift, which was really amazing, Elissa. Thank you so much. And thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Oh my gosh, thank you. I know we'll have to get together. When I come to LA, we'll have to get together because I would love to do some work with you and,
Yeah.
and keep,
Compare notes.
yes, and continue with, both of our healing journeys. But
Yes.
I wanted to read something to you guys about self-compassion, because I think it's important as we're going through this that we have compassion for ourselves. So self-compassion is about recognizing that you're suffering just like everyone else and that you too deserve kindness. People see it as a weakness, but being warm and supportive to ourselves is one of the greatest strengths that we have. So let these diseases, right? be lessons to us and gifts to us to just remind ourselves to take care of ourselves. You deserve it, and you deserve a wonderful, abundant, healthy life. Thanks for joining us, everyone. Till next time.